Right, welcome to another episode of Agile on Air. And we're your Agile coaches from Add Agility. I'm going to introduce them. We have, on the far end,
Stephen Mackenzie. I'm an agility coach with Add Agility.
Phil Cutcliffe, the same.
Oh, I am as well. Amazing. And we're all three here talking about long-lived teams today because we are a long-lived team, aren't we? Well, are we? How long have we been together?
We will be.
We will be.
Well, no, I feel that I have recently joined a long-lived team, so that's fine.
That's good.
It's helpful to talk about what we mean by a long-lived team in the context of agile working, and I guess specifically product delivery. Is that our context here for this conversation?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Or any team, really.
And when
it doesn't have to be product. I mean, sorry, we're already going off topic. But even if you're talking about a sports team, a long-lived team's a good thing, right?
Yes, it is. But I think there's an implication when we're talking about long-lived teams in the product delivery context, which is that we are bringing work to the team, and when that work is delivered, we will bring new work to that team rather than bringing money for a project and then spinning up a brand new team to deliver that project and then disbanding that team.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you covered that, because that's really what we're here to espouse the virtues of, because I think all of us truly believe, and we have seen the problems when you spin up a project team to do a specific set of outcomes and then you ramp them down, they disband, they take all the knowledge elsewhere, you're left with a code base that was, because we're really talking largely about software development here, where you need the continuity of care of a long-lived team to ensure that you have quality ongoing so that you keep that cost of future development down. And we strongly believe that if you just spin up a team to purely achieve a business outcome and then ramp it down, that team will not care as much about the longevity of your software product as the team that is formed.
So I think you're saying, if I was within this team, you're saying you build it, you will support it.
You build it, you'll run it, you will not only take care of delivering the features that the customers need, but you will also take care of the stuff that's under the hood that people can't see, that actually is so important when it comes to the quality and your ability to deliver value quickly on that product in the future.
Because I will make different decisions if I believe I will be building on top of this in the future.
Yeah, if you know,
or
absolutely.
my close friend Phil, or you, Dan.
Yeah,
because we're a team.
Yeah, and that's. I'm glad you kind of put that in a personal context, because actually, that's one of the things with long-lived teams, isn't it? It's like you get that time. We broached this topic when we talked about small teams, and it's about developing those relationships, developing the trust, and also getting that time to know each other's strengths and weaknesses and be able to really effectively work as one unit rather than a collection of individuals.
And that's different. So there's the assumption that if you can, you would expect a team to support what they build, and you would maintain the team rather than moving the product to a maintenance team.
Yeah.
But then even if we expect completely new work to come into the team because perhaps there is no support or maintenance job to do, it's still been helpful to us to keep the team together.
Yeah, because it's about, there's a lead time to team effectiveness, and there's various models that point to this. It's not just one. So you're keen on the storming, forming, norming, performing.
Yes.
And I quite like the Katzbach and Smith model, which is where you start off from what they call a working group, which is just a collection of individuals that, they can actually perform individually well, and, that's great. But as they work together, they go and have less performance as a team because there's obviously those interactions, gaining the trust, and they don't really know each other. And that initial part of it is about trust, I think, and breaking down those barriers so that you become a team that trust each other and understand each other. And then you can get to a stage where you go from what Cathbach and Smith call a pseudo team to becoming a real team.
Yeah, and I love examples outside of software, as you know.
Yeah.
And you see that in sports teams, they take a long time to gel and find their form. You can't just throw a number of top players together. Right, go.
No,
it's not going to work.
It's like with England football, isn't it? You had these kind of like top strikers, top midfielders in the world for quite a while, and you thought, oh my God, we've got these players are good. They're like they're in the Premier League, which is like one of the most accomplished leagues in the world, and we put them all together on a national team, and we think, well, they should perform, but they didn't.
Because England was not a long-lived team, perhaps. It was just something that only existed for the few months before a big competition.
Yeah.
Because there's value in an effective culture, and there's value in the trust that's built up, the relationships between people.
Social capital.
And it's massive value.
Yeah, it's massive value, and you shouldn't disband teams that perform well. It's just crazy. Like if you take that old project method, that project mentality, and spin up and spin down teams, and if you spin up a team and then you invested all that time, like years and a year or two to get them working really effectively together, then you just disband it, then you have wasted massive amounts of cash.
I see it, and I see companies' funding cycles is often what dictates this.
Right.
So,
the whole yearly annual planning shenanigans.
They get funding for a year. Great, they finally get signed off, and they've got 11 months to build a team, do the thing they're going to do, and then hand it over to someone else, and all the behaviours that drives in a temporary team, and then at the end the funding goes, the team disappears, the knowledge disappears, and sure enough those individuals will often pop up again the next year, exactly the same people, but doing something completely different. And you think, why have you done that? How much time, effort, and money have you now spent learning the system, spinning up the team, learning how to work together?
Yeah, because that's another thing that I think people there's not just the team interactions and the social bonds that we're talking about and that trust. It's about the material that you're working on, right? So code is inherently complicated, and if you put somebody onto a team, get them an expert in a particular code base so that they understand it fully, and then you just disband that team and send them off somewhere else, it's like, oh my God, what you've done with that knowledge now. You've wasted it. You've wasted all that time learning that particular part of the system, and every system's unique.
But it's not just about the technical knowledge of the code that you might have built last month or last week, because actually as a developer I forget that stuff quite quickly, and I have done. But it's about learning how to collaborate with Dan, or learning how to collaborate with Phil. I just know that Dan's probably not going to be in at 9 o'clock on a Monday, or
what are you saying?
or that Phil's going to be grumpy on Tuesday. But what time it is best to call upon me, and what to expect, and how best to collaborate. Those are massively undervalued aspects of a team.
Yeah, I agree. It's a combination of both. It's being the experts in delivering the particular product that you're delivering, and a knowledge of the product and its intricacies and its idiosyncrasies, and also the social
the
team.
idiosyncrasies of the culture of the team,
the
which is
idiosyncrasies, the human idiosyncrasies. Yeah.
We know that in this team we try and get mornings free just for personal work, or working on individual contributions, and then perhaps we're collaborating more in the afternoon, or some other cultural aspects of work in our team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've touched a bit on build it and run it as well, and the idea that if you have to maintain what it is you're building, because you're a long-lived team, I'll use the non-software example again. If we were a team in charge of building and then maintaining a fence, and we're going to have to look after this fence for the next 10 years, you're going to put a little bit more effort into maintaining that fence versus, Dan, you've got to go and build a fence. You're paid per fenced post.
Yeah.
And once you've built that fence, you will never see it again.
And you can leave and go to another country.
Well, so
yes, success is 12 posts.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Here's an interesting thing. I own a fence.
Oh my God!
I'm not sure that's an interesting thing.
It's about 2 meters long. I didn't build it.
Can you tell me something boring?
Well, no. Okay, so
yeah.
Phil, you were suggesting that I should have built my own fence. You were suggesting I would have a better quality fence if I built my own fence. And so actually I wanted to touch on one person should be in one team. Can I be in more than one team? Because I reached out to somebody else to help me build a fence. They built the fence for me. But they had a conversation with me, and for a brief moment we were a team.
I think you can be in a team of teams. You can get the odd person in to collaborate in your team with you. Who
like
brings
a fence specialist or a database specialist, perhaps. Or
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going.
Oh, that was a roundabout way of getting to this point. No, but I get it, right? So what you're saying is, can you have all the people that you need within that single team
all the time?
All right, in software development, you evidently need to bring different people in at different times. So, for example, good example is security people. So they're not generally a permanent part of the team, and they probably shouldn't be either. But you will need to engage with your security department within your organisation to make sure that you dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that your application is secure, and you take their knowledge and push their knowledge into your pipeline building software products that are going to be secure in the real world, right? So and it'll be things like that, and it might be other typical things are infrastructure as code. Sometimes you don't have that knowledge within the team, and you are looking at kind of environmental specialists.
So there are many specialisations that you might not have in your team. Legal compliance, content creation, graphic editing, perhaps, depending on your usual work and perhaps a piece of work that we get. Yeah. So often we have these flow-to-work resources or pooled resources or teams of specialists who have a backlog of support requests. So do we consider them primarily to be in the team of content editors or compliance specialists or front-end special or infrastructure as code specialists, or do we consider them temporarily to be in the context of the team that they are supporting?
So I would like, with stuff like that they could come into a team, say a security specialist as a good example, and then show the team what they need to do for security, so the team then owns security long term, and that knowledge is shared. Yeah, so this is good actually. Comes to
enabling.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yes.
Well, that is team topologies actually. They've got 4 different team types. Now, most of the teams are aligned towards value, so delivering value to a particular customer, and they call them stream aligned teams, as in aligned to a value stream, right? And they've got that. They say that should be the dominant team type, which it should be, but you need to accept within an organisation, particularly big organisations, you are not going to get everybody on the single team to deliver exactly what you want, and you will need to bring other people in at times. So they have other team concepts. So that, like you said, they've got the concept of an enabling team. Now, if you are if, for example, you're taking on a new technology, for example, you're taking on APIs, and you've never done APIs before, and you need skills in a particular API gateway, you might decide that you cultivate those skills in a particular team within the organization so that you get your standards sorted and you have a base to work off. But what you want to do is then you want to spread out that knowledge amongst the teams that are going to have to use it, the streamlined teams. So you'd bring the enabling team in to work and collaborate with that streamlined team to get them up to speed with the new technology, because streamlined teams are usually focused on what's in front of them, which is usually what the product owner or somebody who wants a particular requirement has put right in front of their nose. And they don't have the bandwidth to think about taking on new technology. So the enabling team can help bring that new knowledge into the team and get them up, get them ready, get them started with the premise that they will leave that team to be self-sufficient in the long run. Yes, important concept. Especially, modern software environments, very complicated. You need lots of different people, lots of different skills, and you need to have...
And constantly changing.
Yeah, and you need to have, I think one of the things about Scrum is that a lot of the kind of disciples of Scrum are so focused on this cross-functional team that can do everything. I think it's very rare you find where you can just have one team that can do everything. Maybe you can in a small organization, but when you start to get into complex microservice environment, it never happens. And so you need to have a strategy in which different teams can interact with each other. You need to really think about that.
A level of unfamiliarity where I move from doing the job slowly to just not being able to do the job at all. And that's where ideally I bring in somebody to enable me to do it, or perhaps I work with a specialist for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, and I think this is the major challenge for management these days. Because actually when you've got a small organization, you can have one team that can just do everything. That's an easy thing to manage, right? Where you've got a very complicated environment and you need lots of teams to coordinate to deliver one piece of business value. Add agility, keeping you in the dark again. Right. Where were we before that rude interruption? Right, so, big complicated environments. You need the challenge for management. The main challenge today is to be able to coordinate activity across different teams. And anybody who says there's no place for that is, I think, a bit naive about modern, complicated systems.
So I will ask the naive question then. So could the role of management be to create structures that allow more effective self-organisation or collaboration?
Massively so. So you can arrange teams really badly so that you
need the coordination role, so that you need somebody to tell this team to support that team.
Well, so you can tie things together really badly.
And I'm not saying that's an aim or an aspiration, but what you can, that there is a way of setting up the organisation such that it needs a coordination manager.
Yeah.
Well, and as soon as you've employed a coordination manager, you've institutionalised coordination as a problem in that organisation.
To bring the focus on long-lived teams.
Yeah.
Is that people like the idea of long-lived teams, but actually putting the environment in place to enable it is
a massive one. And the thing is, right, if you're going to form long-lived teams, which, let's face it, in code, with a modern DevOps mindset, teams own code, right? So if you think about the modern software environment, just something we do every day, click and collect, for example, you are putting your order in on a website, which will be one code base. You are picking up in a store, another code base, a till system, whatever. Teams own code, and it's a management challenge to coordinate between them. And you want to have a long-lived team based around the code. There's no doubt about that. Own the code, continuity of care, make sure you're looking after it. So you have to basically form an environment in which the right teams talk to the right people at the right times, and they've got those inter-team connections.
I wonder if we'll be talking about value streams and servant leadership soon, but...
Yes. Value streams. Don't mention value streams.
Yes. So I don't hide. I have a bit of a cheat list. We've covered a lot of the topics we want to talk about. Is there anything else we want to cover on long-lived teams?
Should we move people around teams?
Sometimes. You're looking for a more detailed answer. Yeah, so I think when we're saying a long-lived team, in principle that team persists for a long time, but the actual makeup of that team may change over time. So we may need to bring in certain skills, we may need to let certain skills go. It might be that teams expand and split into multiple teams. It may be they need to shrink and maybe multiple teams get merged into one. But the principle is there are individuals who have that continuity of care and that tacit knowledge, that understanding.
I think you have to assume that people will move you. The football team analogy, the Manchester United team of today is different from that of the 1980s. But what about self-organisation? Is that something that only happens within a team, or can that happen between teams?
Oh, I think it's got to happen between teams.
As an individual, I can say, actually, this product is no longer the place for me. The interesting work or the best place for me to offer my value is in another team.
I'm not sure you can have like chaos like that. But, in terms of if you're in a team and you have interactions, you should be free to have interactions with other teams. So the worst part...
So we're all enabling teams because we can all go and support our colleagues in another team.
Yeah, or you can be value
level.
stream aligned and still, be talking to each other. Yeah. But I think the thing is, if you have to ask your manager to go and to verify an idea before taking it to another team, then you're in an organisation that is truly screwed, right? If it's got to be a Roman candle, then it's like it's properly not it's not agile. And I think to cultivate a team of teams, which is basically a bunch of people who are in their teams and those teams can work effectively, you probably need you need to force a bit of cross-fertilisation, because it's very easy and very comfortable to stay in the team that's performing well and you've built up all those relationships. But what about experiencing a different team and seeing how they work? And then when you do that, you kind of know what the problems of that other team are and what they're experiencing, and you've also got those connections in the team that you've been in, so that you can have that more inter-team cross-fertilisation. But I think organisations should do it very deliberately. They should keep the team stable, and maybe every quarter they rotate somebody out, put them in another team so they can try that and get a bit of a mix going to cultivate organisational success as well as just team success.
Keep things fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. And bring some new people into the team and new ideas and different ways of working maybe from different places.
Cool.
Yes.
What do we think of that?
I think we're probably about ready to sum up.
Who's summing up? Stephen, you haven't summed up for ages.
Long-lived teams are good.
It's like the roulette, isn't it? Who's going to sum up?
Yeah. We should actually just have like one of those spinny wheels on the desk, and then like it should just point.
It should.
So, because I just closed all my notes, long-lived teams are helpful because of the cultural capital built up within the teams, because of the interpersonal relationship, because of the trust, the better effectiveness of that team that have essentially paid the price of learning to work with each other. We've talked about owning code, so it's preferable for a team to own the code that it builds in production, so that we have a better mindset around the type of design that we use, so that it will be more appropriate to maintain. And we have spoken about the value of moving people between teams, and of not expecting the team to be immortal, or at least not to keep the same membership for all time, but to still retain the team memories over time.
Yeah, this is a pretty good summary.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
yes.
Excellent. All right.
I don't feel it needed a summary because we were so clear the first time through.
Indeed.
Very good.
Excellent. Apart from when the lights went out. Anyway, that's a wrap. So thank you, and thanks for listening.